Hello, it's Grandma Karen. We have learned a lot about your machine. Today's lesson will be a little bit longer. You will sew on 2 paper practice pages. You can watch the whole video and then do the practice sheets, or you can stop after each demonstration and sew the worksheet and then watch the next demonstration. We're going to learn about a few more buttons or knobs on your machine. But first we will talk about 3 safety rules. In our last lesson we talked about what we do with our hands as we sew. If you learn to use your hands the correct way, it will help you keep your hands away from the needle. Rule 1. Listen to your mentor as he or she corrects your hand placement while you sew on the worksheets. It will help you stay safe. The second safety rule is do not look up while your foot is on the foot pedal. If you look up when someone calls your name, you must take your foot off the foot pedal. I just straddle the foot control like this photo with each foot on opposite sides of the controller if I look up to look at the TV or look up to talk to someone. Eventually you will be able to talk and sew, but you will always take your foot off the pedal when you look up. Your mentor will call your name ever so often to help you make this a habit. Rule 3. In our last lesson we talked about putting the presser foot on and off your sewing machine, but we did not talk about how to be safe while doing it. We have our hands near the needle many times. We change the presser foot, we put in a new needle, we thread the needle, and we clean and oil the machine, all of which we will learn to do soon. Here are 3 things you can do to be safe when your hands are near the needle. Choose the best one for you. Turn off the machine if you have a power button, or unplug the machine. This will also turn off the light. You can also unplug the foot pedal. On some machines, this will let you keep the light on. You can move the foot control away over to the side, away from your foot. This is what I usually do. By doing one of these things, it will prevent you from accidentally stepping on the foot control while you're working near the needle. Your mentor will remind you. Your machine is a home sewing machine, also called a domestic sewing machine. There are 3 basic types of domestic sewing machines. One is a treadle machine. This is powered by your feet. No electricity is used to sew on this kind of machine. Your machine is probably one of the other 2 types. First photo is a treadle machine. It does not use electricity to sew. Your machine may be a computerized machine like the second photo. When you turn on a computerized machine, it has a display screen that turns on. You will push buttons to turn knobs to change the settings. These machines are mechanical. They do not have a screen. Is your machine a mechanical or computerized? When you turn on most computerized machines, they will start with a straight stitch. If you have a mechanical machine like this one, your machine will be on the last stitch you were sewing on. You can make changes to the stitch to make a zigzag stitch or to make a hem stitch and lots of other kinds of stitches. Some machines only do a straight stitch. Most will have at least 5 different stitches. You may have to change your machine to a straight stitch if it is mechanical. That is what we will be using for our sewing practice today. The stitch selector on your machine may look like one of these. For a computerized machine, you will usually push a button or tap a screen to change the stitch. You can also push the clear or delete button, and then the stitch will go back to straight stitch. Mechanical machines will have a dial or a lever to change stitches. When you turn on most computerized machines, the needle will be lined up with the center of the foot and aligned with the guide on the presser foot. Some computerized machines let you change where the needle is positioned. The first photo shows the needle lined up with the center line on the presser foot. The other 2 photos show the needle at the far left and on the far right position. Mechanical machines sometimes let you change the needle position. A mechanical machine will not automatically go to the center position when you turn it on. If someone changed the needle position, then you have to put it back to the center when you start to sew. Many machines do not let you change the needle position. If yours does, make sure it is in the center position. If your machine has a needle position button, it may look like one of these. If you have a Brother brand sewing machine, it may turn on with the needle to the far left position. You will need to select the straight stitch that shows the needle in the center position. On this machine, it is stitch number 01. Stitch length is how long each stitch is that you make. On a mechanical machine, the stitch length dial or lever may look like one of these. 2 of these have stitch lengths 0 to 4. The round dial on the right has short stitches, medium stitches, and long stitches. It only allows you to have these 3 stitch lengths. Older machines have a stitch length dial that looks like this. It is kind of like a screw. Turn it one way to make the stitches smaller. Turn it the other way to make the stitches longer. Notice the numbers on the dial. The one on the left has numbers 0 to 4. The one on the right has numbers 6 to 30. There are 2 numbering systems on older machines. We will play with this dial in our next lesson and learn the difference in the 2 measuring systems. If you have a computerized machine, your stitch length button may look like one of these. It may also have a place on the display screen that tells you the size of the stitch. Your stitch length will go to normal sewing size when you turn the sewing machine on. For now, if your machine numbers are 0 to 4, it should be set around 2.5. That's normal. If it says 6 to 20 or 6 to 30, or even says 6 to fine, then you need to set it somewhere between 10 and 12. This is the length stitches should be for normal sewing. If you have a computerized machine, it will be the correct setting when you turn it on. Today's class is a no speeding class. As a beginner, you should go slow. We will practice going slow and fast in a couple minutes. When you sew slowly, your sewing will be more accurate. Some machines have a button or switch that allows you to control the speed of your foot control. The button may look like one of these, a toggle switch that lets you make gradual changes, or a switch that makes the machine limit its speed to half speed. Many machines do not allow you to change the speed. You also control your speed with the foot control, or the foot pedal on the floor. Push this all the way down and it goes faster. Push it part way down and it goes slower. If you turn the speed to half speed, then pushing it all the way down on the foot will only let you go half speed. Some foot controls do not let you have much control. Others give you a lot of control in your speed. Learning how your foot control works to help you control speed is part of this lesson. One last thing, it can get confusing when I say foot. When I say foot in the videos, I am referring to this presser foot. When I talk about the foot control or the foot pedal, I will call it by its full name, foot control or foot pedal. You will be asked to review all of this at the end of your lesson for homework after sewing the 2 practice sheets. Pause the video and get your machine and worksheets ready. I will demonstrate how to sew on our 2 practice worksheets when you are ready. Read this list of how to get ready and then turn the video back on. If you don't understand some of the things on this list, then go back and watch lessons 1, 2, and 3. This is the first practice sheet. There are 3 straight lines on the right and 2 diagonal lines on the left. Okay, we're going to start at the top of this line here, and you might have to lean in and look through the little oval hole right there to see if you can, looks like it's at the top. And we're going to reach our hand back here and put the presser foot down. Okay, so the thing that you're going to remember is that this slit or the line on my machine here, on my presser foot, is going to line up with this foot, this line that we're sewing on. So your eye is not looking at the needle, it's looking in front of this right here. All right, so let's start sewing. So we're going to go trying to keep that guideline on the presser foot on the line, and I want you to use your foot control and try to go a little faster and go a little bit slower, and then sew to the end of the line. Keep watching in front of your foot, and when you get close to the end, you might want to see if your machine has this. So my machine stopped with the needle in the up position. A lot of machines don't do that, and we will talk about this more later, but I want you to see if yours does, and if it doesn't, then it might have stopped like this with the needle partway in, or it might even stop with the needle all the way down in your paper. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to use your hand wheel, turn it all the way towards you until that needle is in its highest position. And then you can reach through and lift up your presser foot. Okay, we're going to go to our next line. And this time, instead of just starting at the top, we are going to try to find the exact top. And we are going to take our needle and we're going to put it down. And I'm like leaning to the side to see where that's going. So it starts right at the top. You might have to lean forward or lean to the side to see it. And I'm going to put my presser foot down and I'm going to start sewing. Now this makes it so that you can get exactly at the top. And as I go, now I want you to practice turning it sideways. You're going to be using this left hand, your steering hand, to make it wiggle a little bit to the side. So I'm kind of like pushing to the side, and to get it back on, I'm going to push here. So I want you to go kind of off the line, and then I want you to go fast and see how it is harder to get it back on. If I'm going slow and I go off, then it's easier. I'm just doing gentle corrections. And you might not even have any place on your lines where it is off, but I want you to go off on purpose just so you can see what it does. And we're sewing to the end of the line, and as I get close to the end of the line, I might want to use my hand wheel to get to that exact bottom of the line, and then I'm going to put the needle up to its highest position, reach back, and put my presser foot up. So you can do this other line if you want. Now what I want you to do is I want you to start on one of these other lines, and we're going to do the same thing. One of these diagonal lines. We're going to put the needle down in, put the presser foot down. And on this one, we're going to learn what we need to do with our guiding hand. Now you could use both hands if you want to do your steering, but I want you to learn to use your guide hand too. So my machine is pretty big right here. Some machines, this throat ends right here. And so as I sew, you will see that this is going to catch on there, and it will probably catch on mine. And so you're going to use your guide hand. So I'm sewing on here, and you can sew fast or slow, however you want. And then I'm going to go like this with my guide hand. See how I'm holding it up like that, so that it doesn't catch on the side of your machine and stop your paper from going through the machine. And when you're done, I want you to look at turn it over and look at all your lines. So let me get to the end right here. And I'm going to do a couple stitches to get there. And I'm going to turn my paper over, and I'm going to look at my lines that I sewed. And you can see my line is pretty straight. And this one over here, see how I was curved? So see if you can get them as straight as possible. You probably won't get them perfect, and that's okay because you're just beginning. This is practice sheet number 2. We will learn to pivot. This is a sewing term for going around corners. Let's look at some close-up photos, and then I will show you how we do this on the machine. I drew an orange line on this fabric so you could see where I sewed around the corner or pivoted around the corner with black thread. I sewed on the line until I got close to the corner. I stopped a few stitches before the corner and used the hand wheel to do the last few stitches. So then I get to the corner and I put my needle down in the corner. I put my presser foot up. Then I turn my fabric, or my paper in this case, while the needle is still in the fabric until it's lined up with the new sewing line. See that last photo? The presser foot is now going in a new direction. You need to put the presser foot down and sew. Okay, so now we're going to learn how to pivot on this second worksheet. And again, I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to sew down to the end. I'm using my left hand as my guiding hand to make sure I stay on that line. And when I get close to the end, then I'm going to take a few stitches with my hand wheel until I get it right on the corner. Okay, so remember, presser foot is down and needle is down. Now I'm going to reach behind here and take my presser foot up, and I'm going to pivot this fabric or turn the fabric. And it is really bumping into the side of my machine here, so I am going to have to use my guiding hand to roll this over like this. And then I'm going to put my presser foot down, and I'm going to sew to the corner. And this is a short line, so I'm going to go slow. And when I get to the corner, I'm going to let go of that. Okay, I'm going to use my hand wheel and put it down. And you can see here how this is running into my machine, so I'm having to hold that. Now I'm going to reach back, put my presser foot up, and turn it. Now it's not on the side anymore. So I'm going to put my presser foot back down. And right here, I have this little line on my foot is now lined up with the new line. And so I'm just going to go and sew until I get to the next corner. I'm not going to show you all the corners, but when you get to this pointy corner, you will have to, it'll be a little bit harder for you, the pointy corners. So just try to go around the whole maze, and then when you're done, turn it over and see how well you did on your corners. And ask your mentor for help figuring out how to do it better. You have learned how to stop and start at the end of a line. You have practiced your steering hand and your straightening hand. You have a feel of how your foot control works to go faster and slower. You know how to pivot around corners. Congratulations on finishing 2 practice sheets. Whether it is your first time sewing or you have been sewing for a while, this is a great beginning to learn good habits while you sew. I hope that was fun for you. I love sewing, and I hope you will too. Your homework is to do a little review. Tell your mentor, teacher, or relative the following things. Stop the video on the homework slide or take a photo. 1. Tell your mentor 3 things you need to do to stay safe. 2. Is your machine a computerized or a mechanical machine? 3. How do you put the needle in the center position, change the stitch length, and select the straight stitch? 4. Where do your eyes look when you sew on a line? 5. How do you more accurately start and stop at the beginning and end of a line? 6. How do you pivot on a corner? What do you do with the presser foot, the hand wheel, and the needle? And 7, if you already haven't, sew the 2 practice sheets. In our next lesson, we will sew on 2 more practice papers. You will be sewing on curved lines and we'll try different stitch lengths. See you next time. And here's a note for the mentor. Call their name sometimes while practicing. Remind them to take their foot off the pedal when they look up. Correct their use of hands. The left hand guides and the right hand straightens. Start slow. Let them do the first rows on each practice sheet on their own. Gradually add in corrections. Help them remember to use the hand wheel to start and stop sewing in the correct place. Encourage accuracy in pivoting. Praise them. Don't demand perfection. Print out more pages if they need more practice. Thank you for helping someone learn to sew.